I'm a white guy and I've been body blocked out of bars by old Korean ladies. Yeah, like in South Korea, from what I understand, they just straight up, if you're not Korean, they're like, you're not rocking with us. You know, canceled Ubers, canceled cab rides, that kind of shit. Like, and it's not just it's not even like it's not even just like anti-white. It's just like anti-non-Korean. If you're not Korean, you're fucked. Whereas like there is a little bit of that in Japan as well, but is nowhere near from. I've never been to South Korea, but it seems like from people that have been to both, the South Korean version is like way more out there.
Clear. Not everything is as smooth as it seems, but in today's world of polarized and sensationalized media, how do you figure out what's really going on? It's not easy, especially when headlines are often designed to attract clicks, not inform. But there's a better way, and that's where Ground News comes in. An independent platform that compares how different news outlets across the political spectrum cover the same story. For example, the right-leaning Daily Caller highlights China's economy stumbling under Trump's tariffs. Meanwhile, the left-leaning Global Times emphasizes China's resilience in the face of those same challenges. Same story, two very different angles. Ground News lets you compare all of these perspectives.
I don't think there is a pro-China slant on Ground News. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it a $1.50. But we're doing ethical react chatters. This is a video that's only 2 weeks old. So
articles from the past month on China's economy and summed it up simply. While export-driven industrial output remains strong, weak consumer demand and falling property prices pose challenges for China's economic recovery. As you can see, Ground News helps you to get the full story, and that's why we value this tool so much. Check them out and head to ground.news/mega or scan our QR code for 40% off their top-tier Vantage plan. With that, you can get unlimited access for about $5 a month. Again, that's ground.news/mega, so don't miss out. And now, let's dive into how and why the Chongqing Metro was built. Since the 1940s, various groups have put together official proposals for a metro system in Chongqing. They've always abandoned their plans though. The project just didn't seem feasible. In the 70s and 80s,
if China fights India, I support China because I'm Chinese. If America fights India, I support India because I'm Asian. If America fights aliens, I support America because I'm human. If aliens fight Japan, I support aliens. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Metros were constructed in Beijing and Shanghai, but Chongqing, nothing. The project was too difficult from a technical perspective and way too expensive as well. But things changed towards the end of the 1980s when a new task force was put into place. This task force was serious about getting this done and spent the next few years traveling abroad, inspecting metros in other countries, and learning as much as possible about building railways in difficult vertical spaces. One of the first things they realized was that a conventional railway probably wasn't the best option. By conventional here, we just mean a flat set of tracks, like the ones you see in most subways. That's what China used.
I don't understand. So they sent a task force out, and the task force actually, like, forced a task instead of simply just, like, sitting around and collecting cash and then not getting anything done. This doesn't make any sense. At what point does the private-public partnership kick in, where the private enterprise simply just uses the government as a money cannon, that they fill a pool with yuans and then they dive into the pool instead of like actually taking the money and then building the railroads? I don't get it.
Used for the metro in Beijing and also the metro in Shanghai. That's what you see in the London Underground or the subway system in New York. But the task force came up with an alternative. How about using monorails? Here's the thing, a monorail track is way lighter than a conventional rail track. And if you're building lots of elevated tracks and bridges, the system needs fewer supports. The task force worked out that a conventional metro, like the one in Beijing, would cost more than $200 million per kilometer of rail. But a monorail metro would cost half as much, more like 100 million per kilometer. Monorails are also more energy efficient than conventional rails. Again, the task force worked out that a station using conventional tracks would use about 10 times as much energy as a station that used monorail tracks. Monorail systems are also better at tight turns and climbing steep slopes. In other words, using monorails in Chongqing felt a bit like a no-brainer. Okay, so you're probably wondering, if monorails are so great, why doesn't everyone just use them? Well, the thing is, a monorail only really makes sense if you're building an elevated metro. If you're building an underground rail system, it is a totally different story. While a monorail is lighter than a conventional system, it actually takes up more vertical space. A conventional system uses low, flat rails with the trains just riding on top. But a monorail system uses one tall rail, which the trains can...
This is making me more depressed than the BBB. Yeah, I'm really driving a fucking nail in the coffin here. This is insult to injury time, you know what I mean? I know it's messed up. Wait, hold on. My buddy's here.
Straddle on both sides. Now, typically, metros use a lot of tunnels dug out beneath a city's streets. And if you're excavating tunnels, the last thing that you want is a rail that takes up more space. That means digging higher tunnels, which takes time and money. So in the majority of cases, monorail metros are actually a pretty bad idea. But not for Chongqing. In this 8D city, monorails made perfect sense. But the project still wouldn't be easy. Usually, when you build an elevated rail, you'd build the support columns first, and then use cranes to lower each piece of monorail into position. But in Chongqing, that wasn't really an option. With all the narrow streets, and slopes, and drops, it was hard enough for a person to move around, let alone something as large and precarious as a crane. Now, luckily, the task force had an answer. They developed a specialist beam transport machine, carefully designed for this specific task. The machine would hug a piece of rail to its belly, crawl onto the support columns, and then lay the rail...
Oh, I'm nutting. Bro, this is fucking crazy. Oh, that's so sick. What the fuck?
...into place. It was a long time coming. But in December of 2000, these machines were put into action. Just 5 years later, the first line of the metro was officially open to the public. Line 2, as it's known, was mostly elevated above the city streets, although a couple kilometers did run underground at one end. This very first line is actually the one that passes through those apartment buildings from earlier in the video. When this line was being built, this piece of land was actually owned by a construction company. They hadn't built anything yet, but they were planning to, and that building was going to get in the way of the rail. In the end, the company worked with the metro to design a building with which the metro could safely intersect. To do this, the designers needed to make sure that the vibrations passing through the monorail line didn't damage
out of the three big ones. Dude, look up K-pop co-ed group Tarzan. Oh no. Crypto YouTubers threaten to kill you in America? True. I have less experience in China, but from my observation, China is less rude, but more like fetishizing
the rest of the building. That is quite a bit of engineering. We'll see exactly how they did it in a second. But real quick first, if you're enjoying this video and you want to see similar content in the future, don't forget to subscribe to Megabuilds. Anyways, back to the metro. So how did they make sure that—
Dude, I don't care what system makes this, I want it, okay? You can call it whatever you want. Call it socialism, call it omega capitalism. I don't give a shit. I want it, dude. I fucking want it. I want it so fucking bad. Dude, think about that. Like, we could have this, dude. We could have this. We could have this in the United States of America. Fuck.
The vibrating monorail didn't damage the building that it was going through. The construction team put these vertical tubes within the inner structure of the building. The monorail stood on pillars, each one at the center of these tubes. and the tubes were wide enough that when the pillars vibrated, there was no chance of them touching the sides. By the way, in case you were wondering, monorails are also much quieter than conventional rails. For the people living in the apartment block, the sound—
I'm sorry, whatever system that allows this to happen is superior. I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. Oh, one party rule. I don't care. Okay. Oh, eminent domain. This is crazy. This is like, no, it's superior. Okay. No, Fiona. No, what are you doing? Why do you always do this? Here, chill out. She's just like pushing the gate. You're a little train slut, aren't you? Yes, I am going to the phase party in a second. I'm going to end the stream after this video and then go.
The sound of the train is about 60 decibels, which is pretty close to the same as a dishwasher. So annoying, but not too bad. After successfully finishing the monorail line, the construction teams kept going. After a few years, another monorail line was completed. This second line was a record.
By the way, China has like simultaneously some very interesting home ownership rules, like land ownership rules where the government basically owns everything and it's like a lease agreement. But it also has some of the craziest, most ridiculous land protections that you have ever seen, which is why there's like a bunch of different places where in China, like you literally have homes that are just built around like a fucking highway, for example, where on the one hand, it's a 99-year lease. And I guess instead of like having the bank own your home, you literally own your home. The government owns everybody's homes, including yours. And you can and you go through this process where they just like give it back to you by the end of it if you're ever near the end of it. But it's not the home built around the highway. It's the highway built around the home. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But also at the same time, like, the way it works, from what I understand, is like the government comes to you and they're like, we're going to build a massive project here. And this requires us to move you to a different place. They will offer a higher price than market rate for the house. And on top of that, price you into like price relocation fees into it as well. And if the person still says no, then they just literally build around it. They're like, all right, fuck it. We'll just build around it. Yeah, you get a better upgrade if the government has to take your house. Yeah, I know. They pay for the new home and and they give you money, like they give you above market rate for the house that they're taking out. And also on top of that, they pay for the relocation and everything. Chinese man defies demolition orders to build 10-story Ghibli nail house. Rural areas are basically communes for housing ownership. The whole village owns a house as a community and builds if someone needs a home. It's 70 years. They offer a renew of the lease for a further 70 years. If you pay 1% of the land value, there's no annual land tax in China. Yeah. Bulldozing buildings was my brother's main argument against China's authoritarian government. I mean, they used to do that for sure.
Breaker. As things stand, it's the single longest monorail line in the entire world. It's also the busiest monorail line in the world, with approximately 250 million rides taking place every single year. That one was partly finished in 2011, and more lines have been added to the system year after year.
Yeah, see? China's most stubborn nail house owner regrets not selling before highways built around home. Construction team creates a special access route, allowing family to reach outside world despite heavy traffic. The owner of Jiangxi's most stubborn nail house expressed regret for not selling to the government after officials chose to bypass his property, constructing the highway around his home instead. Hey, Fiona, chill out.
After a year, there are now 12 lines in total, with 3 more being built as we speak. Now, unlike the first 2 lines, all the others have actually used conventional rails, not monorails. Basically, people realized that this up and down city needed a combination of the 2 types of lines. Some to be elevated high in the sky, others to be dug through the mountains. That's why the city has ended up with a mixed network of lines. As you'd expect, building these conventional lines wasn't easy. Remember Hongyangkun Station, the deepest subway in the world? That one single station took 3 years to complete. By the end, it was taking each construction worker almost 20 minutes to climb down into the site, and then another 20 minutes to climb out at the end of the day. But just like those monorail lines, Chongqing still got it done. And there's more to come. By 2035, there are due to be a total of 23 rail lines, nearly double the current 12. We don't know what those lines will look like just yet, but who knows?
She hates being picked
Maybe
up.
they'll break some more records.
She hates it.
It's legitimately crazy to think that some people ride
so
this
tiny,
metro
but hates being
every
picked up.
single day. Maybe you're one of them. Or maybe a different mega build is part of your life. Let us know in the comments down below. As always,
Like, look.
thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
All right, everybody. That'll be all for today because I am going to the FaZe 4th of July party. I'm going to be phasing the frick up, as you guys know. Catch me on any number of different streams that they have on over there. And that is all I got. Quiet quitting, 5 hours. What the fuck is going on? That's a real half day, baby. Real half day time. Phasing the fuck up. Happy 4th of July. And I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to most likely go to Anime Expo, hopefully, if I can figure some stuff out. But that's it. Love you all. And I'll see you tomorrow. We'll do some regular news as well, and then I'll do the Anime Expo. Peace, everybody.
Reviewing the P.O. box, Uncle Uger's face. Sudden discord at prop, great names take embrace. Tiny Bernie Sanders, LGBTQ Air Force. The whole left at your fingertips, on a at your door. The H3 crowded debate, the Young Turks online show. 3 full fucking years of this, plenty more to go. 90-day fiance, talks of champagne bourgeoisie. A Trump rally live reaction, a mass riot at DC. There he is again, her sun is streaming, her sun is streaming.